Okay, greetings and peace, everyone. My name is Neo, and I'm here to share some info with the people. I am a relationship anatomist, relationship consultant, relationship blogger, and author of the book, my ebook titled Committed Relationships, The Starting Process to the Process. And me, I started my personal development work years ago after a breakup with a woman from a decent time period. I think it was about a year or something like that. Year, maybe a little bit less. But after that breakup, that's when I had the spiritual epiphany that relationships are something that need to be studied, really studied and learned, and a person has to do personal development work and go through some sort of maturity process before jumping into relationships in general, especially romantic relationships. So me, I went on my years of personal development work, doing personal development work, and also studying, observing, and investigating relationships. And I have done this in a variety of ways regarding studying and investigating relationships, including reading a lot of Psychology Today magazines. I study movies, TV shows, because there's a lot of information within them. And also I utilize the TV shows and movies as a psychological simulation that allows me to sit down and analyze the information regarding the relationship aspect of the movies and TV shows. And then I sit down and figure out what is the best case scenario for me within that situation, if I were to be in that situation, and what type of behavior would I need within that environment. And that includes a lot of a variety of simulations that I put myself through psychological simulations, because doing this allows me to be ahead of situations that I may be in. Like, for example, let me give you an example. Perfect example is the cheating within romantic relationships. I have analyzed that thoroughly, and I have come to the conclusion that cheating within a romantic relationship is not a wise idea, and it's actually a very immature and stupid thing to do within relationships. However, we have a lot of subliminal suggestions within TV shows, movies, and a lot of other places, like magazines and just the overall media, that suggests that cheating is something to do, especially with these reality shows. But I'm going to do that and talk about that in another video. But cheating is definitely not a wise thing to do. And when I ran through my own simulation of that, and especially seeing the effects of the effects of it, considering my father did it to my mother, I conclude that it's best to just tell the individual that, look, it's not working, and I'd rather not be in this relationship anymore with you. But this is after you have discussed it at least twice with the individual, your concerns regarding the relationship, a minimum of 2 times. But if you can do 3, squeeze that in and then see how that works. But if there is not any results that are productive results from that discussion, then you can go ahead and say, okay, it's time to cut it off, and yada yada yada. So now I have amassed a lot of relationship information, insights, so I'm presenting it to the public. So now this video right here is about grown-up children. This is exactly what a lot of so-called grown-ups are nowadays. individuals, they have the physical body of an adult. However, psychologically, they are still children. This video right here is in association with my maturity video that I recently did, my maturity video, so you got to check that out. It's in association with it, so watch that first if you have not watched it, and then come back to this one. Now, I want to mention my terminology of what I call behavior projection, BP. Behavioral projection is a behavioral projection that an individual feels like is the best way to behave within a situation. However, that behavior is not the true them. It's not the true them. So what they'll do is, what the average person will do is their ego in particular, they will project out to the world within whatever situation that they're in, whatever behavioral projection that they want the people around them to perceive. However, whatever they project, that's not the real them. Let me give you an example. You have the take a normal everyday adult. It could be 30 years of age. The guy has a job. The guy and the woman has a job. They have children. They have their own car, and they have their own house. Okay, and they have children. What a lot of people will do is, based on how they have perceived society, whatever society that they're in. So society tells them to behave a certain way as an adult. Keep in mind that the average person, as I said in my previous maturity video, that very few people actually go through a maturity process that allows them to mature into a mature, self-sustaining adult psychologically. Because you have to keep in mind that the body naturally matures into a mature adult. However, the mind has to be cultivated into a mature adulthood psychologically. If a person fails to do that, and if parents fail to do that with their children, then if the child doesn't go do any kind of personal development work within their own life, then they're more than likely still going to have a variety of aspects of their mind that are still on the childlike level. In the childlike level, that comes out in a variety of ways, in a variety of situations, and you rarely would see that a person is still on a childlike level until you are in a situation with them. So they'll go around, the average person would go around acting like they're a mature adult and doing what they perceive as the adult thing to do. However, due to them not developing their mind to a high level, maturity level, there's still small but important aspects of their mind that's still undeveloped, that's still on a childlike level. So when you go through certain situations with people, you can that actually test out their patience, their intelligence, and their overall maturity level. It'll show out what's going on with them, and they're whether it be their high maturity level will pop out and it'll be displayed, or their childlike issues will come out and they'll get angry in a certain situation, and then they'll just blast out at you or anybody, or even at themselves. Some people who are still on a childlike level, whenever they don't get what they want, and whenever a situation goes downhill, they don't always have to project blame on other people. Sometimes people project blame on themselves, but they do it harshly and in unnecessary ways. highly unnecessary ways and unhealthy ways, as far as blaming themselves and trying to almost punish themselves in a way, and it's really, really ridiculous. That's another form of immaturity. So these people, you can see the immaturity. And oh yeah, and the behavioral projection, it'll be up. Some people can keep it up for a very, very long time. Others, they'll keep it up for only a certain amount of time within the first time that you meet them, or it'll start to fade probably like the second or third meeting. That's why for me, I don't base everything on first impressions when I'm meeting an individual, because here in America, at least, the American society puts a lot of pressure on first impressions. It gets people to focus on first impressions. However, first impressions, they're important. However, if you know the information that I know, you know that that first impression is usually the person's behavioral projection that they're projecting out. So it's like it's a hologram, so to speak, a hologram, so that the world around them doesn't see the true self, the true psychological child that they're on, that's behind the projection, and anything else that they don't want the world to see, like all of their other unresolved childhood issues and their overall unresolved issues in general. So they'll project out a behavioral projection and just hope that nobody will see the true them. But when you're on a high psychological and psychic level, you can actually perceive through that, and you can just know, like, okay, this person did not grow up, they didn't do their development work, so I know what to do and I know my limits. That's how I am when I meet a lot of people. It's just many times it's like instantly I just know. Their energy tells me, their face tells me, their tone of voice tells me, even the way that they dress and their mannerisms tells me what type of level that they're on. And a lot of people think that these professionals, these people who are considered professionals within professional careers, whether it be teachers, accountants, even celebrities, anybody that's considered a professional, attorneys, if they have not went through a maturity process and they have not learned how to control their own mind, there's a great chance that they are still on a psychological childlike level. And the mind is very, very vast, and people have only tapped in like a small little percentage of their mind. And there are so many situations that will show you and reflect back to you what you need to work on. And this is where self-reflection comes into play. In your relationships that you're currently in, you can utilize those as your own self-reflection, but that's after you remove that self-denial, because everybody has that ego self-denial at first. Once they remove that, then it'll be much more easier for them to look at themselves and really find all of their weaknesses that they need to work on, their faults, and those psychological errors within their mental system, because those have to be resolved. And even professionals, when they're in certain situations, like even they can get a ticket. They can get a ticket for a parking ticket. And you can see, if you really observe them, they'll get pissed off. Some of them get pissed off, then you see the childlike state. But then if you receive a parking ticket, if you're on a mature level, you first stop and think like, wait a minute, where was I in the wrong? Maybe I actually did something. I forgot to do this, and that. But some people would actually get angry at the person that gave them the parking ticket, whether it be the city or that individual that put the ticket on their car. Like there used to be a TV show, I forgot what it's called, but where they would follow, it was a reality show where they would follow like these ticket officers in like different cities, like Philadelphia. I think it was mainly Philadelphia and maybe New York. and they will follow the ticket officer, the parking ticket officer, and the way that these people, the drivers, the owners of these vehicles, the way that they behave, react to the ticket, they act nuts, really nuts. And that is if you know the name of the show, go ahead and watch it. If you have not watched it, then figure out, go Google it some way, somehow, and you can see a lot of these reality shows anyways, and how people react, even the ones that are like, they put people in candid situations so that where it's unscripted, how they react to certain situations just because they didn't get their way. And that is exactly how a lot of people are. And from my own case studies, I can see it a lot. And I studied my family, a variety of people within the congregation when I used to be in the Jehovah's Witness religion, and when I'm at the malls, a variety of malls, studying them, studying people, and within restaurants, a variety of places. And when I've noticed in my case studies that a large portion of the time, people's behavioral projections get brought down almost immediately when they're in trying times. When they're in trying times where there is high pressure, that's when the behavioral projection comes down, and then you'll be able to see their true behavior. You can see it, and you can see if they're on a childlike state or they're on a really high maturity level. It depends on their response to the situation. Like a mature person in any given situation would focus on calming themselves down and assessing the situation, analyzing the situation first to see what is actually going on. However, a person who is on a childlike state, whenever they are in a pressure-like situation, they would just freak out in any form of shape or form. Whether it be they'll shrink back, they'll start blaming everybody and everything around them. There's some people who are always blaming the government for doing something, that if the person got themselves together and they matured, they would have realized that, hey, they were the one that fucked up, and they are the one who needs to focus on self-sufficiency and stop worrying about the government doing everything for them. And there's really a lot of adults that are always whining about the government doing something that they don't like, and they're just always whining like little children. And little children do the whining and complaining. Keep that in mind. So if you see an adult that consistently does the whining and complaining without actually putting in the work to resolve whatever issue that they feel they need to resolve, rather than sitting and complaining, then the person is usually on a childlike state psychologically, because the childlike state is the whining and complaining. That's the top thing, the top indication that a person is still in a childlike state. So you observe that, how frequent the individual whines and complains. You have to do that, versus how often they actually take charge and get things done. Right. That's the best way to really observe that. Let's see here. What else? What else is there to go ahead and get across? I say that's pretty much the top thing that I want to talk about. Like I said in my maturity video, a lot of people think that them having the adult material possessions, that includes having a car, having children, having their own home, their own bank account, and a variety of other things that's considered adult, those are just aspects of an adulthood. What's most important is the psychological refinement level of the individual that allows them to develop into adulthood psychologically. If a person doesn't go through that maturity process and doing that personal development work, whether it be their parents, the caretakers, or somebody in their life helping them do it, or they themselves do it, then more than likely they're still on a childlike level in one way or another, largely. And I like this commercial, this NFL commercial with Carolina Panthers wide receiver Steve Smith. He has this character development commercial with children where he's teaching children character development, helping them develop their character, their overall character, how to behave within social engagements, how to break up fights, and a variety of other stuff. So when I saw that, I smiled. I was like, yes, now that is one aspect, that is some form of maturity process. And these are children that he's teaching. So I'm saying to myself, now look, that's what parents need to do. If you have not seen that video, you can go to YouTube and type in Steve Smith character development commercial, and you'll see what he's doing. And I said to myself, that is similar to what I want to do with children. Well, I'm going to do all ages. Yeah, I really want to do something with all the ages. Yeah, because it's like if the parents are not going to do it because their life is so hectic, well then I'll just create some kind of course and just charge people for it, for my time and effort. I got to get some kind of compensation. You already know that. And just teach people. And there's one thing that I really want to do is teach the young females especially. There's a variety of courses that I want to do. There's a maturity course, there's a relationship course, and the maturity course would actually include a variety of other things, including social behavior. Yeah, I got a lot of thinking to do. I don't know how the fuck I'm going to do this, and I don't know if I'm going to actually have classes, or I can do an online class. That's true too. I can do that. There's a variety of things that I can do. But if y'all have any suggestions, any ideas, go ahead and put them in the comment section, and or send me an email within my the description, the committed relationship email. Do that, because I have two different ones. I have the NeoOneness at gmail.com. That's for more of the spiritual things, spiritual emails, and the spiritual topics and everything else other than relationships topics. But the relationship topics, those ones go to my committed relationship email. So keep that in mind when you want to communicate with me, because this channel is my spiritual topics I do on here, and my relationship topics too, and a variety of other stuff too, every so often. Let's see here. So yeah, so that's what I've been thinking about lately, is what else can I do to help people develop their minds to a higher level. And I already have my YouTube channels and my blog and my committed relationship ebook, which I'm going to have that link in the description for you to read my first 2 chapters for free. And then I still have that. My ebook is only $3, literally only $3. I made it very accessible to everybody, and I kept things on a basic level so that anybody can comprehend it, and I kept it short so that you can probably get done with the book within a day, if not a few hours or less, depending on how much work you put in it. So I'm really making things accessible, and even when I do some sort of courses, I create them and put people through it, that's going to be accessible also too. So if you got any suggestions with that, then go ahead and notify me of that. And until next time, peace out.